Ancient stones whisper secrets if you know how to listen. For centuries, our ancestors embedded profound knowledge, spiritual beliefs, and cosmic maps directly into their greatest structures, creating a global puzzle carved in stone. This video is your guide to uncovering 30 hidden messages encoded in ancient architecture around the world. You will discover how these silent monuments challenge everything we thought we knew about history and human ingenuity. We will journey from the deserts of Egypt to the jungles of Cambodia, asking how a pyramid can point to specific stars and why a temple was built as a mirror of the universe. What does it mean to find a message written not in words, but in the very form of a building? That first message, carved in stone and aligned with the stars, reveals a profound truth about our ancestors. They saw the earth and sky as one unified system. This celestial blueprint was not unique to Egypt. Far across the globe, another civilization was building its own stone testament to the heavens. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, the mysterious site of Machu Picchu clings to a mountain ridge. To the untrained eye, it is a breathtaking collection of terraces and temples. But look closer and you will see a second hidden message: the intentional harmony of architecture and landscape. The builders of this Incan citadel did not simply clear the land. They worshipped it. They shaped their structures to embrace the natural world, molding stone walls to follow the contours of the mountain itself. This was a philosophy of integration, not domination. At the center of this sacred city stands a granite rock known as the Intihuatana, or the hitching post of the sun. This intricately carved stone pillar was a sophisticated astronomical device. During the equinoxes, the sun would stand directly above the pillar, casting no shadow. For the Inca, this was a moment of profound connection, a time when they symbolically tied the sun to the earth to prevent it from continuing its journey north and plunging their world into darkness. This was not merely a calendar. It was a spiritual instrument, a piece of architecture designed to actively engage with cosmic forces and maintain the balance of the universe. How many of our modern structures are built with such reverence for the natural world? The message of Machu Picchu is one of sacred geography, a reminder that the greatest buildings are those that honor the land they occupy. That same celestial wisdom echoes across the English countryside. The great stone circle of Stonehenge stands as a silent, brooding giant on the Salisbury Plain. For generations, it was seen as a temple for primal rituals, but a deeper message is locked within its geometry, a revelation that transforms it from a place of ceremony into a Neolithic calculator. On the summer solstice, the rising sun pierces the horizon to perfectly align with the outlying heel stone, its light flooding into the heart of the circle. This was no accident. It was a precise astronomical event, a signal that marked the beginning of a new agricultural cycle for the people who built it. The massive sarsen stones are not merely standing in a pattern. They form a sophisticated observatory. Researchers like Gerald Hawkins uncovered that the various alignments between the stones correspond to key positions of the sun and the moon, effectively making the entire structure a massive computer built from stone. The arrangement of the towering trilithons and the circle of Aubrey holes likely tracked the complex metonic cycle of the moon, a 19-year pattern crucial for predicting eclipses and understanding the seasons. This was not just about marking a single day. It was about foreseeing the future rhythms of the cosmos itself. The encoded message of Stonehenge reveals a deep, practical understanding of celestial mechanics, proving that its Neolithic builders were master astronomers whose knowledge was literally set in stone. What other profound ancient knowledge might we have overlooked, standing in plain sight all this time? From one mysterious circle of stone, our journey takes us to an entire city carved directly into a mountain. A desert metropolis thrived where life should have been impossible. The rose-red city of Petra, carved into the cliffs of Jordan, holds a third hidden message, one of survival written in water. The Nabateans did not just build beautiful tombs like the famous treasury, they engineered a complete hydraulic civilization in a barren canyon. Their most precious resource was not gold or gems, but water itself, and they mastered its control with breathtaking ingenuity. They constructed a hidden network of dams to divert destructive flash floods, carved vast cisterns into the rock to store millions of gallons, and laid terracotta pipes that channeled water throughout the city. This was not a simple irrigation system. It was a sophisticated understanding of hydrology and geology, a secret web of channels often integrated directly into the very architecture, turning cliff faces into functional aqueducts. This engineering marvel transformed a harsh desert passage into a lush, thriving trade hub, a place where gardens and fountains could exist in the heart of the arid landscape. The encoded message of Petra is one of profound ingenuity, a testament to a society that did not fight its environment but learned to work with it, creating life where none seemed possible. How do our modern cities, with their concrete and steel, compare in their fundamental relationship with the natural resources that sustain them? This mastery over the earthly elements finds a parallel in another ancient pursuit, the desire to map the heavens themselves. While deserts and mountains hold their secrets, jungles can conceal entire universes. Deep within the Cambodian forest, the sprawling temple of Angkor Wat rises from the earth, not merely as a building but as a perfect map of the cosmos. This is our fourth hidden message, the architectural mandala, a stone universe designed to guide the human spirit toward enlightenment. The entire complex is a breathtaking scale model of the Hindu universe, with its 5 iconic central towers representing the peaks of Mount Meru, the mythical home of the gods. Every wall, moat, and gallery is part of this grand spiritual diagram. The vast surrounding moat mirrors the cosmic oceans, while the concentric galleries lead pilgrims on a symbolic journey from the outer world toward the sacred center, a path of meditation made physical. This was not just a place to worship, it was a machine for transcendence, built to connect the earthly realm directly with the divine. The precision of this vision is confirmed by the sun itself. During the spring equinox, the sun rises in perfect alignment over the central tower, a spectacular event that seems to crown the sacred mountain with light, a yearly reaffirmation of the temple's cosmic purpose. Scholars like Elena Manica have discovered that the temple's dimensions are not arbitrary. Measurements of the corridors and courtyards correspond to ancient Hindu time cycles, including the 4 great ages of existence known as the Yugas. Concepts of eternity and cosmic order are literally embedded into the temple's very proportions, making philosophy and faith tangible. The intricate bas-reliefs that line the walls tell epic stories of kings and deities, but the primary message is the form itself. It is a bridge, a permanent invitation to cross from our world into a higher state of understanding. What does it mean to build your entire world view into stone? It is an act of profound belief, a declaration that the universe has an order and that humanity has a place within it. From this stone model of the universe, our journey ascends to a city that seems to float among the clouds. The mountains themselves seem to breathe around Machu Picchu. This Incan sanctuary was built with a deep, almost intuitive foresight, its very stones designed to dance with the Earth's movements. The fifth hidden message is one of seismic and astrological resilience, a masterclass in architectural coexistence. Look closely at the walls. They are composed of irregular, interlocking blocks, fitted together without any mortar in a technique known as ashlar masonry. This was not a primitive method, it was brilliant engineering. During an earthquake, these stones are not rigid. They literally sway and settle, moving with the tremors before locking back into place, a flexible system that prevents catastrophic collapse. This is why the citadel stands centuries later, having endured countless seismic events that would have leveled a less insightful construction. This structural genius extends to the land itself. The vast agricultural terraces are more than just farms. They are a complex drainage system, their layered stone and gravel foundations channeling water efficiently to prevent erosion and stabilize the steep slopes against landslides. The entire city is an integrated mechanism for survival, and overseeing it all is the Intihuatana stone, the hitching post of the sun. This carved granite pillar functioned as a precise celestial calendar. The angles and shadows cast by its surfaces mark the solstices and equinoxes, allowing priests to track the sun's journey and determine the optimal times for planting and harvest. The placement of key temples and windows throughout the city creates specific alignments with the sun and stars during these pivotal moments, turning the entire mountaintop into a vast, open-air observatory. The encoded message here is profound harmony. The Inca did not seek to defy the immense powers of their environment. They learned its rhythms and built a city that could bend with the earth's shakes and converse with the sky's cycles. In an age of rigid steel and concrete, what could we possibly learn from this ancient, fluid wisdom? From this city in the clouds, we now descend deep underground, into a labyrinth carved from the soft volcanic rock of another ancient land. Beneath the sun-baked plains of Cappadocia lies a world turned inside out. While other civilizations built towards the heavens, the people here carved an entire city deep into the earth. The sixth hidden message is one of subterranean urban planning, a testament to resilience etched into soft volcanic rock. Derinkuyu is not a simple cave network. It is a multi-level metropolis descending 18 stories underground, a masterpiece of defensive and communal engineering designed to shelter thousands for months at a time. Its architecture is a direct response to threat, a hidden fortress where every feature served a purpose for collective survival. Massive, circular stone doors, each weighing several hundred kilograms, could be rolled across corridors to seal off entire sections from invaders. But a sealed city needs to breathe. Ingenious ventilation shafts, some stretching over 50 meters to the surface, provided a constant supply of fresh air to every level, while deep, hidden wells tapped into underground water sources, making the inhabitants self-sufficient. This was a fully functioning society in hiding, complete with spaces for worship, food storage, stables for livestock, and even wineries. Narrow, low-ceiling passageways forced any potential attackers to proceed single file, giving the defenders a tremendous advantage. The very rock itself, a soft volcanic tuff, was both the challenge and the solution. It was easy to carve with simple tools, yet structurally stable enough to support such vast excavations. This was not a temporary refuge. It was an alternate reality, a complete city built in negative space, its layout reflecting a highly organized social structure where community and collective safety were the highest priorities. The encoded message of Derinkuyu is one of profound foresight. It speaks of a society that understood the geology beneath their feet and used it not for grand monuments, but for the ultimate guarantee of life itself. How would our own emergency plans change if they were designed not just for temporary shelter, but for the continuation of an entire community? This deep understanding of the earth as a protector finds a parallel in a temple that sought to capture the very moment of creation itself. Our eyes can be deceived even by a building that seems perfectly straight. High on the Acropolis in Athens, the Parthenon stands as a monument to this very deception, a masterpiece of calculated imperfection. Its seventh hidden message is one of mathematical grace, a philosophical argument carved in marble. To the observer, the temple appears as a vision of flawless symmetry and straight lines. Yet almost nothing is as it seems. The massive marble platform it rests upon, the stylobate, curves upward slightly in the center. Its columns do not stand perfectly vertical but lean inward, and they are not uniform cylinders. Each one swells gently in the middle, a subtle thickening known as intosses. These were not errors or settling over time. They were brilliant, intentional corrections for the quirks of human vision. The ancient Greek architects understood that truly straight lines would appear to sag from a distance, and columns of identical width would seem gaunt and weak. Their solution was to build the optical illusion of perfection into the stone itself, creating a structure that feels both majestically stable and dynamically alive. This visual trickery was guided by a deeper code, the sacred ratio of 9:4. This proportion governs the relationship of the temple's length to its width, the height to the width, and even the spacing between its columns. It is a rhythm of mathematical harmony that the Greeks saw as the foundation of beauty, a reflection of the divine order they believed structured the cosmos. The Parthenon is therefore more than a temple. It is a declaration that humanity, through reason and art, can participate in that cosmic order, creating forms on earth that resonate with the perfection of the heavens. How much of our own modern sense of beauty is still quietly shaped by this ancient pursuit of ideal proportions? This desire to map a perfect order onto the world finds a different, yet equally profound, expression in a vast desert landscape. Some messages are not carved in stone, but scraped into the earth itself on a scale so vast it defies comprehension. The Nazca lines stretch across the high desert of Peru, a sprawling canvas of giant spiders, hummingbirds, and perfect geometric shapes that remain one of humanity's most enigmatic creations. This is the eighth hidden message, a celestial and hydrological map written on the landscape. From the ground, these lines are mere shallow grooves, but from the air, they transform into a breathtaking gallery of figures so large they can only be understood from the heavens. For decades, the prevailing theory, championed by researchers like Maria Reich, suggested these geoglyphs formed a massive astronomical calendar. Specific lines and shapes appear to align with the rising and setting points of the sun, moon, and key stars during solstices and equinoxes, turning the entire plateau into an observatory without walls. Yet another compelling theory points not to the sky but deep into the earth. In this brutally arid region, water was the ultimate currency of life. Some researchers now propose that many of the lines and figures directly trace the paths of underground aquifers, acting as a giant map of hidden water sources. The animal forms themselves, like the hummingbird or the monkey, may have been spiritual symbols connected to water and fertility in Nazca cosmology. These immense drawings could have served as sacred pathways for ritual processions, where communities walked the lines to pray for the life-giving rains or to honor the subterranean flows that sustained them. The precision required to create these figures, maintained for centuries, demonstrates an advanced knowledge of surveying and a worldview that saw no separation between the celestial and the terrestrial. The sky governed the water cycle, and the water in the earth reflected the patterns in the stars. The Nazca people encoded this profound, integrated understanding into the very ground they walked on. It makes you wonder, what vast, invisible messages are we etching into our own planet today, and what will they say about our relationship with the world when we are gone? This silent dialogue between earth and sky finds a voice in our next destination, a temple designed not just to be seen but to be heard. The silent stones of the Nazca Desert give way to a temple that was built to sing. At the ancient Maya city of Chichen Itza, the Grand Pyramid of El Castillo holds a secret not for the eyes but for the ears. A single clap of hands at its base ripples upward, returning from the monumental staircase not as a simple echo, but as the distinct, warbling chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird. This is the ninth hidden message, a deliberate acoustic marvel engineered into the very fabric of the structure. It was no happy accident. The precise dimensions of the steep stone steps, the angles of the terraces, and the quality of the limestone were all calculated to filter and shape sound waves, transforming a human action into a divine response. The Quetzal bird, revered as a messenger to the gods and a symbol of the sky, was thus summoned through architecture itself, making the spiritual world audibly present for all who gathered there. This sonic genius extends to the city's immense Great Ball Court. In this vast ceremonial space where a sacred game was played, a whisper uttered softly at one stone temple can be heard with perfect clarity at the opposite end, over 500 feet away. The parallel walls act as a perfect sound channel, a whispering gallery that would have carried the chants of priests and the movements of the players to every corner, immersing participants in a complete sensory ritual. The Maya encoded their sophisticated understanding of physics into stone, turning their most important buildings into resonant instruments. These were not silent stages for ceremony. They were active participants, designed to blur the line between the human and the divine through the power of sound. How does the quiet of a modern building compare to one that was designed to speak? This intricate fusion of sound and sacred geometry finds a deeper, more perplexing pattern in a structure that is itself a riddle. A labyrinth is more than a maze. It is a story told in stone and shadow. Deep within the ruins of the palace of Knossos on Crete, the 10th hidden message is not written in any language, but walked in the footsteps of those who once moved through its complex heart. The sprawling complex, with its multiple levels, winding corridors that lead nowhere, and sudden, bewildering dead ends, seems to physically manifest the ancient myth of the Minotaur's labyrinth. But what if the myth was not about a literal monster, but a profound psychological blueprint? The design appears intentionally disorienting, a far cry from the logical grid of a Roman city. This was not poor planning. It was a deliberate architectural choice that reflected the Minoan worldview, one that embraced the intricate and the mysterious. The palace layout may have guided ritual processions, where the very act of navigating its confusing passages was a form of spiritual journey, a walking meditation meant to symbolize the soul's difficult path through the complexities of life and the cosmos. To walk these halls was to participate in a story where the final destination was not a chamber with a beast, but a deeper understanding of one's own place in a tangled universe. At the same time, the power to design such a space was a message in itself. The ruling class demonstrated its authority not just through force, but by controlling movement and knowledge. To know the correct path through the palace was to possess a precious secret, a form of social and political power encoded directly into the architecture. The labyrinth was therefore a multi-layered symbol. It spoke of spiritual seeking, cosmic complexity, and earthly control, all woven together in a single, breathtaking structure. When you walk through a modern building with its clear, efficient signage and open floor plans, what does that simplicity say about our own values? We have traded mystery for clarity, but have we lost something in the process? This ancient fascination with measuring profound journeys finds a different expression in a structure that sought to measure something equally vast, the passage of time itself. A single beam of light can speak volumes when it strikes the right stone. High on Fajada Butte in New Mexico, a stark sandstone spire rises from the floor of Choco Canyon. There, a secret has been playing out for centuries, a silent drama of light and shadow known as the Sun Dagger. Upon a vertical rock face, the ancestral Pueblones carved a large spiral petroglyph. For most of the year, it is a simple, elegant symbol, but at exactly noon on the summer solstice, a transformation occurs. A sliver of sunlight, precisely shaped by the careful positioning of 3 massive stone slabs, pierces the center of the spiral like a dagger. This was no random act of nature. It was an engineered celestial event, a precise solar calendar carved into the living rock. The same ingenious arrangement of slabs also cast shadows that perfectly bracket the spiral during the winter solstice and bisect it during the equinoxes, tracking the sun's entire yearly journey with breathtaking accuracy. This is the 11th hidden message, a testament to a deep reverence for the sun and a sophisticated method of timekeeping that governed every aspect of life. The appearance of the Sun Dagger would have signaled the optimal times for planting and harvest, and it would have marked the moments for vital ceremonies that ensured the community's harmony with the cosmic order. It demonstrates how a simple, elegant interplay of light and shadow can embody the most complex cosmological knowledge, turning a cliff face into a sacred clock. In our world of digital calendars and constant notifications, how do we mark the profound passage of time in our own environments? We now journey to an island of giants, where stones of impossible size whisper of a lost engineering marvel. On a remote island in the vast Pacific Ocean, silent giants stand with their backs to the sea, their gaze fixed eternally inland. The massive moai of Easter Island are far more than monumental stone heads. They are the 12th hidden message, a profound statement of ancestral guardianship carved from volcanic rock. These towering figures were believed to be the living embodiments of deified ancestors, their immense power, or mana, channeled to watch over and protect the living communities. Their placement along the coastline was a deliberate act, creating a spiritual barrier that faced the island's villages, not the ocean, symbolizing a protective watch over the people and their territory. This was a landscape encoded with lineage, where each statue represented a direct link to the past, a permanent claim to land and legacy. The familiar heads are only part of the story. Recent excavations have revealed that many moai have complete torsos buried deep underground, their bodies often covered in intricate, previously unseen petroglyphs that tell deeper stories of their creators' beliefs. The distinctive red stone cylinders placed on the heads of some statues, known as pukao, are now understood to represent stylized topknots of hair, a significant cultural marker in Polynesian society. The quarry at Rono Raraku is a frozen moment in time, a hillside message in itself. Dozens of statues in various stages of completion remain partially carved from the bedrock, illustrating the immense scale of this cultural endeavor and the staggering social effort required to quarry, transport, and erect these guardians. The entire landscape speaks of a society that invested its collective energy into honoring its past, believing that the well-being of the present depended on the vigilant protection of the ancestors. What do the monuments we choose to raise in our own cities reveal about the lineage and values we hold most sacred? This monumental effort to command a landscape finds a curious parallel in a fortress whose very stones seem to defy the laws of gravity. These zigzagging walls near Cusco seem to challenge the very mountains they are built upon. The fortress of Sacsayhuaman presents our 13th hidden message, a declaration of power written in stone blocks of impossible size and precision. Its ramparts are composed of colossal limestone megaliths, some weighing over 100 tons, fitted together with a seamlessness that defies logic. The joints between these giant stones are so exact that not even the thinnest blade can find a purchase between them. This was not merely for aesthetic grandeur. The irregular, polygonal shapes of each block are the key to their genius, creating a vast, three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle that locks the entire wall into a single, unified mass. When an earthquake strikes, this design does not resist the Earth's movement. Instead, the stones shift and sway minutely, their interlocking forms dissipating the destructive energy and then settling back into perfect alignment. This is architectural resilience on a monumental scale, a sophisticated understanding of seismic forces encoded directly into the fortress walls. The sheer scale of the project also broadcasts an unambiguous message of military and political might. The labor required to quarry, shape, and transport these stones speaks of a society with immense organizational power, capable of commanding thousands of workers to reshape the landscape itself. The precise methods used remain one of history's great enigmas. How did they achieve such flawless cuts without iron tools or the wheel? The walls stand as a silent testament to a lost technology, a mastery over stone that seems to border on magic. This was a civilization that did not simply build on the land. It learned from the land, understanding its tremors and rhythms, and created a fortress that could dance with the mountains. What secrets of ancient engineering did they possess that we have yet to rediscover? From this fortress that defies earthquakes, we journey to a temple that captures a single, fleeting moment of sunlight. Deep within a grassy Irish mound, a 5,000-year-old secret awaits the winter sun. The passage tomb of Newgrange is our 14th hidden message, an ancient machine for capturing light and meaning. For just a few precious minutes at dawn around the winter solstice, a single, narrow beam of sunlight pierces a special opening above the entrance, known as a roof box. This sliver of light travels down the long, dark passageway, a journey of over 60 feet, until it dramatically illuminates the inner chamber in a burst of golden light. This was not a fortunate accident. It required breathtakingly precise astronomical observation and architectural planning, a feat of engineering that predates both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Egypt. The entire structure was designed as a cosmological instrument, a deliberate alignment with the sun at its weakest point in the yearly cycle. The encoded message is one of profound hope and cyclical renewal. At the darkest time of the year, when the sun seems to be dying, this architecture demonstrates a deep understanding that the light will always return. It is a stone-built promise of rebirth, a testament to the power of the sun to overcome the long winter night. Inside the chamber, the sudden illumination would have revealed intricate spiral carvings etched into the stone, patterns that likely symbolized the endless cycles of life, death, and regeneration. In that fleeting, electrifying moment, the boundaries between the living and the ancestors, between the earth and the cosmos, would have dissolved. What powerful rituals or chants might have filled that sacred space as the light arrived, connecting the community to the rhythms of the universe itself? This Neolithic masterpiece was far more than a resting place for the departed. It was a profound declaration that humanity is part of a larger, orderly, and renewing cosmos. That same search for perfect order resonates in a very different kind of city, one built not for the dead, but as a model of a harmonious society. The rigid geometry of Teotihuacan stands in stark contrast to the winding labyrinth of Knossos. Here, in this ancient Mexican metropolis, the 15th hidden message is one of cosmic harmony, a city meticulously planned as a mirror of the heavens. The entire urban center is laid out on a precise grid, anchored by the massive pyramid of the sun and the pyramid of the moon, connected by the grand avenue of the dead. But this layout is not aligned to true north. Instead, the entire city is rotated 15.5 degrees east of north, a deliberate and puzzling orientation. This was no surveying error. Some researchers propose this specific angle was chosen so that the Avenue of the Dead would point directly toward the setting of the Pleiades star cluster, a celestial grouping of profound significance to cultures across the Americas. On certain key dates, the city's main thoroughfare would have become a terrestrial echo of a celestial river, aligning the movements of its people with the rhythms of the stars. The proportions of the pyramids themselves seem to encode a deeper understanding of mathematics and astronomy. The base perimeter of the Pyramid of the Sun, for instance, is nearly identical to that of the Great Pyramid of Giza, suggesting a possible shared, ancient knowledge of fundamental geometric principles. The distances between the major structures may reflect astronomical units or embody sacred ratios, turning the city into a vast, open-air calculator. Every citizen walking these straight avenues, living in its gridded residential compounds, was participating in a grand, physical model of a universe governed by perfect order and divine measure. The message of Teotihuacan is that urban planning can be a spiritual act, a way of building a society that is fundamentally in sync with the cosmos. How many of our own modern cities are designed with such a unified vision of heaven and earth? This profound desire to carve order from raw nature finds a breathtakingly literal expression in our next destination, a church not built from stone but sculpted directly into the heart of a mountain. Faith can indeed move mountains, or in the case of Lalibela, carve entire cathedrals from them. In the highlands of Ethiopia, a breathtaking complex of 11 churches stands not built from the ground up, but excavated directly downward from a single, solid block of volcanic rock. This is the 16th hidden message, the creation of a symbolic New Jerusalem for pilgrims who could not make the arduous journey to the Holy Land. King Lalibela commissioned this monumental project in the 12th century, a spiritual and architectural endeavor of staggering ambition. Each church was meticulously carved from the top down, a process that required workers to first isolate a giant block of stone from the surrounding bedrock, then painstakingly hollow it out to create doors, windows, and vast interior spaces. The result is a network of monolithic structures, each entirely unique, connected by a labyrinth of deep trenches and tunnels that symbolize the spiritual passage to salvation. Windows are shaped as perfect crosses, casting cruciform shadows that travel across the floors throughout the day, and channels carved into the stone are said to carry holy water, mirroring the sacred streams of Jerusalem. This was not mere construction, it was an act of profound devotion, a literal translation of faith into physical form. The entire complex is a spiritual map, a deliberate replication of the sacred geography of a distant holy city, brought to life in the heart of Africa. The encoded message here is one of transcendent belief, a declaration that the divine can be accessed anywhere if the will and the devotion are deep enough. It makes you wonder what drives humanity to undertake such staggering projects, to move not just stone but the very meaning of a landscape, all for an idea. This incredible fusion of deep faith and precise geometry finds a parallel in a temple that hides the secrets of the universe not in its form, but in its fundamental proportions. That same pursuit of divine proportion found its way into the very bones of Europe's great cathedrals. The 17th hidden message is the language of the golden ratio, an irrational number known as phi, approximately 1.618, deliberately woven into stone to create an instinctive sense of harmony. From the columns of the Parthenon to the soaring vaults of Notre Dame, architects encoded this mathematical constant as a direct link to a universe they believed was built on perfect geometric ideals. In a Gothic cathedral, this is not merely decoration. the entire structure becomes a lesson in sacred mathematics. The ratio often defines the relationship between the width of the nave and the aisles, the height of the arches to their span, and the progression of the stained glass windows. This repeating proportion creates a visual rhythm that pulls the gaze upward, a silent, mathematical hymn that guides the spirit toward the heavens. The message is clear. Beauty is not arbitrary. It follows a divine blueprint, and by building with these proportions, humanity could create a space on Earth that resonated with the fundamental order of creation. How does this hidden geometry affect our perception of space? Even without knowing the math, we feel the balance and the grace. It speaks to a deep, almost forgotten understanding that truth and divinity can be found in number and form. We now venture to a temple of 1,000 pillars where another kind of cosmic order was set in stone. Each pillar in the hall of 1,000 pillars tells its own sacred story. At the Meenakshi temple in South India, the number of columns is less important than their breathtaking individuality. Every single one is a unique masterpiece, a densely carved statue portraying gods, goddesses, and epic scenes from mythology, transforming the entire hall into a walking narrative of divine play and cosmic order. The 18th hidden message is one of inclusive vision. The hall is laid out with such precision that from every single entrance, your line of sight to the main shrine remains perfectly clear and completely unobstructed. This was a deliberate architectural choice encoding a profound spiritual truth. It declares that the divine is accessible to all, regardless of where you enter from, and that the sacred is omnipresent, never hidden from a sincere seeker. This message of universal access is then echoed in a delightful surprise. Among the 1,000, one specific pillar is an engineered marvel. When tapped gently, it resonates not with a dull thud, but with a clear, distinct musical note. This hidden acoustic feature adds a layer of sensory engagement, making the spiritual experience not just visual, but vibrantly auditory. The entire space functions as a microcosm of the Hindu cosmos, a universe in miniature where every carved detail, from a dancing Shiva to a lotus flower, is dense with symbolic meaning. It invites you not just to walk through, but to read the walls, to listen to the stones, and to understand that the divine is woven into the very fabric of existence. When you enter a modern concert hall or a grand library, what overarching story do its pillars and arches tell about our collective values and what we hold sacred? This intricate world of symbolic stone finds a powerful contrast in a fortress that sought not to tell stories, but to become one with the earth itself. A monarch's gaze could encompass his entire kingdom without ever leaving his palace. The Lion Rock of Sigiriya rises 200 meters from the Sri Lankan plains, a sheer stone column crowned with the ruins of a royal citadel. Its 19th hidden message is one of reflective dominion, a philosophy of rule written not in conquest, but in a profound integration with the landscape. The king's architects achieved this through a breathtaking feat, polishing one entire face of the rock with a special plaster and minerals until it gleamed as a mirror wall. This was far more than a vanity. It transformed the fortress into a living map, reflecting the lush forests, reservoirs, and distant horizons in real time. The king did not just look out at his domain, he saw it literally embraced by his own walls, a continuous, shimmering affirmation of his harmonious control over the natural world. This reflective embrace was extended across the entire complex. Elaborate water gardens at the base of the rock feature symmetrically laid pools, fountains powered by gravity and pressure, and serpentine streams that mirror the pathways in the sky. Further up, boulder gardens incorporate massive natural rock formations directly into the architecture, with pavilions and pathways built around and over them, demonstrating a reverence for the land's existing forms. And higher still, the terraced gardens climb the rock itself, creating a layered paradise of greenery that seems to grow organically from the stone. This was not a fortress imposed upon the landscape. It was a collaboration with it. The famous frescoes of celestial maidens painted on a sheltered rock face complete this vision. These ethereal figures, hovering between heaven and earth, blur the line between the divine and the terrestrial, suggesting that this entire engineered paradise was a place where the king could commune with higher realms. The message of Sigiriya is that true power lies not in dominating nature, but in enhancing it to create a seamless unity between architecture, ruler, and cosmos. How many of our modern leaders build with such a philosophy of reflective harmony? Our journey now takes us to a city where the architecture was designed to be cooled by the wind and cleansed by the water. A desert wind is never wasted, only captured and directed. Across the ancient cities of Persia, slender towers rise from the rooftops like attentive sentinels, their open faces turned to the four directions. These are the Badgers, the wind catchers, and they hold the 20th hidden message, a masterpiece of passive climate control. This was not a fight against the harsh desert environment, but a brilliant collaboration with it. The design is deceptively simple. The tall, chimney-like structure captures even the gentlest breeze from high above the ground, channeling it downward into the heart of the building. As the air descends, it often passes over a courtyard pool or an underground water channel known as a kanat, picking up cooling moisture before flowing into the living spaces. The system is a complete cycle, with the hot, stale air inside being pushed out through other openings, creating a constant, refreshing circulation without a single watt of electricity. This intricate dance of air and water represents a deep, intuitive grasp of physics and ecology, an understanding that comfort could be engineered by harnessing the natural forces already present. The Badger is far more than a functional appliance. It is a philosophical statement carved in clay and brick, a symbol of Persian ingenuity that speaks of a harmonious relationship with the elements. In an age of energy-intensive air conditioning, what profound lessons in sustainability and elegance might we learn from this ancient, silent technology? This elegant dance with the elements finds a powerful echo in a temple that rises to greet the dawn. A beam of light travels a path of stone to perform a miracle. Deep within the rock-cut temples of Abu Simbel, the sun itself becomes an actor in a divine play. Twice each year, on February 22nd and October 22nd, the dawn sun aligns with the temple's entrance. Its rays spear over 200 feet through the mountain, piercing the darkness of the inner sanctuary to illuminate 3 of the 4 seated statues. The gods Ra and Amun and the deified pharaoh Ramses II himself are bathed in brilliant light. Only the 4th figure, Ta, the god of the underworld, remains forever in shadow, for his realm is eternal night. This was no happy accident of orientation. It was a meticulously calculated astronomical and architectural achievement, likely timed to commemorate the pharaoh's coronation and his birthday. The entire temple is a monumental declaration of divine kingship, a message carved into a mountain proclaiming that the pharaoh's power was so absolute it could command the sun to honor him. The precision required to achieve this effect, aligning the axis of a massive rock-cut structure with specific solar dates, demonstrates an understanding of celestial cycles that still inspires awe. Centuries later, this encoded message faced a modern threat from the rising waters of Lake Nasser. In a staggering feat of 20th-century engineering, the entire temple complex was carefully sawn into massive blocks and moved to higher ground, a UNESCO project that itself became a message of global preservation. How do we, in our own time, use light to create meaning and mark sacred moments in our spaces? From a temple that harnessed the sun for ritual, we move to a city that functioned as a vast living calendar. A monolithic stone gateway stands alone against the Andean sky, its surface a dense tapestry of intricate carvings. This is the gateway of the sun at Tiwanaku, and its 22nd message is one of time itself, a calendar carved from a single block of andesite. The central figure, often identified as a creator deity, radiates authority, holding staffs that may symbolize thunder and lightning, but the true code lies in the surrounding procession. Flowing out from this central god are 30 figures with the heads of condors, a sacred bird that connected the earthly realm to the heavens. Many researchers propose these 30 figures represent the days of a ritual month, a fundamental unit of time for the Tiwanaku civilization. Other symbols woven into the frieze appear to mark the solstices and equinoxes, turning the entire archway into a permanent record of the solar year. This was not a simple tally of days. It was a sophisticated cosmological model, a stone representation of a universe governed by a supreme creator and regulated by precise celestial cycles. The entire city of Tiwanaku amplifies this message. The massive Akapana pyramid, with its carefully aligned base, and the sunken courtyards that seem to channel both water and sunlight, all suggest the city itself functioned as a giant observatory and ceremonial machine. Every major structure was likely positioned to capture specific solar or lunar alignments during pivotal moments of the year, integrating the community's rituals with the rhythms of the cosmos. The sheer precision of the stonework, with joints so tight they seem fused, speaks of a highly organized society where specialized knowledge was passed down through generations of master artisans and astronomer priests. The way a culture measures time reveals what it values most. For the Tiwanaku, time was not a linear march but a sacred, repeating cycle, intimately tied to a divine order they saw reflected in the sky. This ancient desire to map cosmic origins finds its ultimate expression in a temple that tells the story of everything. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and at Borobudur, that step is carved into a mountain of stone. This colossal Buddhist monument in Indonesia is the 23rd Hidden Message, a three-dimensional map of the cosmos and the human mind. Pilgrims do not simply visit this site, they ascend it, following a spiraling path that winds ever upward past more than 2,500 intricately carved relief panels and 500 serene Buddha statues. This physical climb is a direct architectural metaphor for the spiritual journey from earthly attachment to ultimate liberation. The entire structure is divided into 3 distinct tiers, each representing a higher plane of existence. The massive square base symbolizes the world of desire, where we are bound by our senses and cravings. The next level, with its 5 concentric terraces, represents the world of forms, where one begins to perceive reality beyond mere sensation. Finally, the 3 circular terraces at the summit, crowned by a great central stupa, embody the world of formlessness, the realm of pure consciousness and nirvana. Every step on this path is a lesson. The relief panels are not mere decoration. They are a sprawling visual library depicting the life of the Buddha and the core principles of Buddhist law, turning the entire monument into a walking meditation and a textbook in stone. Yet the most profound architectural secret lies hidden from view. The monument's original base was deliberately covered, encasing a series of 160 reliefs that vividly illustrate the consequences of worldly desire and the inescapable workings of karma. This act of concealment is a powerful message in itself, suggesting that the foundations of enlightenment, the understanding of cause and effect that underpin all spiritual progress, are not immediately visible to the seeker. They must be uncovered through dedicated effort and introspection. Borobudur does not just describe the path to enlightenment, it allows you to walk it with your own feet, reading the story of liberation in the very stones beneath you. How many of our modern structures are designed to facilitate such a profound inner transformation? This architectural embodiment of a philosophical system finds a parallel in a palace where the stones themselves tell a story of absolute power. A city of vermilion walls and golden roofs was built not just for an emperor, but for the cosmos itself. The layout of Beijing's Forbidden City is our 24th hidden message, a physical manifestation of Confucian order and celestial mandate. Every line and space was meticulously planned to reflect a rigid hierarchy, from the heavens down to the humblest subject. The entire complex is aligned on a powerful north-south axis, a symbolic spine connecting the human world to the divine. The sprawling outer court, with its vast plazas and monumental halls, was the realm of public, masculine affairs, where the emperor, as the son of heaven, performed his cosmic duties and met with officials. Behind this, the more intimate inner court served as the private, feminine domain for the imperial family's daily life. This separation was a clear architectural expression of the Confucian principles that governed every aspect of society. The message is reinforced through a deliberate language of color and number. The predominant yellow glaze of the roof tiles was exclusively reserved for the emperor, symbolizing his central role and his connection to the earth element. The number 9, considered the ultimate masculine digit, appears everywhere, from the rows of golden door studs to the ceremonial statuettes lining the roof ridges. These ridges themselves are a bestiary of power, adorned with mythical animals like dragons, representing the emperor's yang energy, and phoenixes, symbolizing the empress's yin essence. Each creature in the procession, from a dragon leading to an immortal riding a phoenix, held a specific rank and protective function, creating a celestial guard watching over the complex. The entire design, from its overwhelming scale to its perfect symmetry, was engineered to impress and intimidate, a stone-built declaration that the emperor was the central pivot between heaven and earth, and that the social order he presided over was as fixed and eternal as the stars. How does architecture enforce social order? It designs the very stage upon which society performs its roles, making hierarchy feel as natural and unchangeable as the walls that surround you. This profound use of geometry to structure human life finds its echo in a very different kind of grid, one laid out not for an emperor, but for the wind and the sun. Geometry itself becomes a form of prayer in the sweeping arches of Islamic architecture. From the Alhambra Palace in Spain to the Blue Mosque in Turkey, surfaces are alive with an endless dance of stars, polygons, and interlacing lines. This is the 25th hidden message, where art and mathematics fuse to symbolize the infinite. These intricate patterns are far more than decoration. They are a profound theological statement, a visual representation of a universe created by a single, limitless God. By avoiding depictions of living forms, the art directs the gaze inward, toward contemplation of an abstract, perfect, and eternal divine presence. The underlying mathematical principles, like perfect tessellation and flawless symmetry, are a sacred language. They speak of a cosmos governed by an underlying order and rationality, a beauty that repeats from the microscopic to the cosmic scale. Look up into the mesmerizing complexity of a Mucana's vault, a three-dimensional honeycomb that seems to dissolve the solidity of the ceiling. This architectural marvel is designed to evoke the celestial canopy of heaven, a shimmering, intricate dome that represents the divine intellect. The message encoded in every repeating hexagon and interlocking star is one of transcendent unity. It suggests that by understanding the geometry of the world, we can catch a glimpse of the mind of its creator. How can lines and shapes convey such profound philosophical ideas? They speak a universal language of order, harmony, and infinity, inviting the soul to a silent meditation on the nature of existence itself. This sacred geometry, which maps the cosmos, finds a parallel in a temple designed as a perfect map of the human being. A temple is not merely a building, but a body waiting to be inhabited by the divine. In the ancient science of Hindu temple design, known as the Vastu Purusha Mandala, the 26th hidden message reveals the structure as the body of the cosmic man, Purusha, laid out upon the earth. Every element of the complex corresponds to a part of this universal form. The innermost sanctum, the dark and quiet Garbhagriha, represents the head, the seat of consciousness where the deity resides. The surrounding halls and walls map to the limbs and torso, with specific sections governed by different gods and energies, creating a perfect diagram of the cosmos and the human being in one unified blueprint. This is architecture as a living, breathing entity, a sacred anatomy designed to align the individual with the universe. The journey a devotee takes is a profound architectural metaphor. You begin in the bright, chaotic outer world, moving through a series of increasingly sacred spaces. The path leads you inward and upward, from the shadowed, womb-like enclosure of the inner shrine toward the soaring, peak-like Shikara tower that reaches for the heavens. This physical ascent mirrors the soul's own journey from material attachment and confinement toward spiritual awakening and ultimate liberation. The entire experience is choreographed by precise mathematical ratios that govern every dimension, from the height of the pillars to the curve of the roof. These proportions are not arbitrary. They are considered the fundamental rhythms of creation itself, the same mathematical principles that structure the cosmos. To walk through such a temple is to walk through a map of your own highest potential, a stone guidebook for inner transformation. The building itself becomes a spiritual technology, an instrument tuned to facilitate a shift in consciousness for anyone who enters with intention. How does a structure manage to hold such a vast and intimate meaning simultaneously? It encodes the belief that the macrocosm of the universe and the microcosm of the human spirit are one and the same, reflected in perfect harmony. This deep reverence for the flow of energy, both within the self and throughout the cosmos, finds a powerful echo in a civilization that directed its architectural genius toward mastering the most essential flow of all, the movement of water itself. Water was the lifeblood of Tikal, and the Maya architects engineered its flow with both profound skill and sacred purpose. In the heart of the Guatemalan rainforest, this great city's towering pyramids rose above a hidden network of reservoirs and canals, a system designed to capture every precious drop of seasonal rain. Yet this was far more than practical plumbing. The Maya saw water as a sacred substance, a gift from the gods that flowed from the celestial realm through the earthly plane and into the dark, generative underworld. The reservoirs were often positioned near sacred caves, which were considered portals to that underworld, the domain of the rain deities themselves. This careful placement encoded a powerful message. By controlling the collection and distribution of water, the city's rulers were not just managing a resource, they were demonstrating their divine authority to mediate between the human world and the supernatural forces that governed life and death. The very architecture of the city reinforced this belief. The massive stone causeways and the plastered surfaces of the grand plazas were not merely for procession. They were engineered to become watersheds, channeling rainwater directly into the reservoirs. Even the steep, towering sides of the temples themselves were designed to funnel water, merging the spiritual function of the pyramid with the vital act of survival. In this worldview, a king's power was measured by his ability to bring the rains and fill the reservoirs, proving his connection to the gods. Every drop that fell from the sky and was guided into a cistern was a reaffirmation of a cosmic contract, a testament to a civilization that saw no separation between the engineering that sustained the body and the faith that nourished the soul. How many of our own modern water systems acknowledge this deeper, sacred connection to the source of all life? This ancient alignment of earthly need and celestial event finds a perfect echo in a monument that marks a single, fleeting moment in the cosmic calendar. Thousands of stones march across the French landscape in eerie, silent rows. The Karnak alignments are a sprawling forest of granite, a puzzle of such immense scale it seems to defy any single purpose. Yet the 28th hidden message points not to the sun, but to the moon, suggesting these stones formed a colossal lunar observatory. While solar cycles govern the year, the moon's movements are far more complex, following an 18.6-year rhythm known as the major lunar standstill. Some researchers propose that the specific arrangement of the parallel rows, like the long lines of Menek and Camario, were designed to frame the moon at its most extreme rising and setting points along the horizon. As the moon completed its slow 18-year dance, an observer standing at one end of the alignments would see it skim the tops of specific stones, a giant calendar built across the land itself. This was not a monument for a single generation. It was a project that required centuries of sustained observation and labor, the careful placement of thousands of megaliths to track a celestial body whose phases were intimately tied to the tides, to planting seasons, and to the rhythms of ritual life. The encoded message is one of profound patience and a deep, practical reverence. For a Neolithic society, understanding the moon's cycle meant predicting the best times to sow crops, to hold ceremonies for growth, and to navigate by its light. The sheer effort invested in this stone computer reveals that lunar knowledge was not a curiosity. It was essential to their very survival and worldview. What profound need drives a culture to reshape its entire landscape into a mirror for the sky? This megalithic testament to celestial wonder finds a parallel in a palace built not from stone but from myth itself. The bull is everywhere in the palace of Knossos, a powerful presence carved and painted into the very stones. This 29th hidden message reveals a culture that did not simply depict an animal, but wove its essence into the core of its identity. The iconic horns of consecration, stone symbols crowning the walls, point not to the sky but to a belief system, framing the sacred bull as a direct conduit to the divine. Inside, vibrant frescoes capture the breathtaking drama of bull leaping, where acrobats somersault over the charging beast. This was likely more than sport. It was a profound ritual, a dance with raw power that tested human courage against the ultimate force of nature, perhaps as an offering or a rite of passage. The sprawling central courtyard itself, the heart of the palace, may have been designed as the stage for these very ceremonies. Its open space perfectly suited for rituals that celebrated the bull's symbolic power over fertility, strength, and the untamed world. From this deep architectural and spiritual reverence, the great myth of the Labyrinth was born. The palace's complex, multi-level layout, with its countless rooms and confusing corridors, felt like a maze to later visitors. Over centuries, this sense of bewilderment fused with the ever-present bull symbolism, giving rise to the legend of the Minotaur, the half-man, half-bull creature dwelling in a labyrinth beneath the palace. The architecture itself became a narrative engine, generating a story that has endured for millennia. The message of Knossos is that a building can be a living myth, a space where culture, nature, and belief intertwine so completely that they birth legends. When we fill our own spaces with animal mascots or symbols, what deeper connection to the natural world are we trying to express, or have we forgotten? Our final specific message takes us to a bridge between worlds, a structure that defies not myth but gravity itself. A slender stone arch once soared over the emerald waters of the Neretva River, a perfect crescent uniting two shores. The Starry Most, the old bridge of Mostar, was our 30th hidden message, a profound symbol of unity carved in stone. For centuries, this 16th century Ottoman masterpiece did more than physically connect the two halves of the city. It wove together communities, economies, and cultures into a single, vibrant tapestry. Its elegant, single arch was an engineering marvel, but its true message was encoded in the life it fostered. The bridge was the city's living room, a place where people met, traded, and watched the famous divers leap from its highest point into the river below. It stood as a silent, daily plea for connection, demonstrating that the most beautiful structures are those that build community. Its tragic destruction during the conflict of the 1990s was a wound felt deeply by the entire world. Yet its story did not end there. Using original techniques and even salvaging stones from the riverbed, the bridge was meticulously rebuilt and reopened in 2004. This act of restoration transformed the architecture into an even more powerful symbol. It is no longer just a bridge of connection, but a monument to resilience and reconciliation, a declaration that shared cultural heritage can be a force stronger than division. Its graceful form asks us what bridges, both literal and metaphorical, truly define our own communities and hold them together. Across 30 hidden messages, from cosmic pyramids to singing temples and this bridge of hope, a common thread emerges. Our ancestors consistently used architecture not just for shelter but as a language. They encoded their deepest understanding of the cosmos, their reverence for nature, their spiritual beliefs, and their hopes for societal harmony directly into stone, landscape, and city plans. These structures were their libraries, their calendars, their philosophical arguments, and their prayers, all made permanent. They challenge us to look beyond the surface of ancient stones and see the profound conversations they are still having with us, asking if we, in our own building, are leaving messages of wisdom for the future. These silent stones scattered across the globe speak a common language. From the deserts of Peru to the plains of England, the same fundamental human questions were carved into the world's greatest structures. How do we find our place in the vast cosmos? How do we ensure our community survives the next drought or the next winter? How do we speak to the divine, and how do we ensure our memory outlasts our own brief lives? The celestial alignments of Stonehenge and the sun Dagger, the life-giving water systems of Petra and Tikal, the sacred geometry of the Parthenon and the Gothic cathedrals, all point to a universal drive to impose order on a chaotic world, to find meaning in the patterns of nature, and to express that understanding in a form meant to endure for the ages. This shared architectural code reveals our deepest preoccupations, our fears of the unknown, and our highest aspirations for harmony, survival, and transcendence. The pyramids and the pagodas, the ziggurats and the stone circles are more than monuments. They are humanity's first philosophy books, written not on papyrus but in the very landscape. They are the crystallized thoughts of our ancestors, a permanent record of our collective yearning to understand. What does this tell us about ourselves today? Perhaps that our own drive to build, to code, and to create, from our sprawling cities to our digital networks, is the same ancient impulse in a modern form. We are still seeking to leave our mark, to communicate with the future, and to find a little bit of immortality in the works of our hands. These silent stones scattered across the globe speak a common language. From the deserts of Peru to the plains of England, the same fundamental human questions were carved into the world's greatest structures. How do we find our place in the vast cosmos? How do we ensure our community survives the next drought or the next winter? How do we speak to the divine, and how do we ensure our memory outlasts our own brief lives? The celestial alignments of Stonehenge and the sun Dagger, the life-giving water systems of Petra and Tikal, the sacred geometry of the Parthenon and the Gothic cathedrals, all point to a universal drive to impose order on a chaotic world, to find meaning in the patterns of nature, and to express that understanding in a form meant to endure for the ages. This shared architectural code reveals our deepest preoccupations, our fears of the unknown, and our highest aspirations for harmony, survival, and transcendence. The pyramids and the pagodas, the ziggurats and the stone circles are more than monuments. They are humanity's first philosophy books, written not on papyrus but in the very landscape. They are the crystallized thoughts of our ancestors, a permanent record of our collective yearning to understand. What does this tell us about ourselves today? Perhaps that our own drive to build, to code, and to create, from our sprawling cities to our digital networks, is the same ancient impulse in a modern form. We are still seeking to leave our mark, to communicate with the future, and to find a little bit of immortality in the works of our hands.